Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Andre?
Here.
Mr. Vickerson?
Here.
Mr. Delo?
Present.
Ms. Good? Present. Mr. Heinman?
Present.
Ms. Lauren Kandusky is absent. Ms. McKean? Present. Mr. Snowden?
Here.
Ms. Stetler? Here. Mayor Hamilton?
Present.
Chief Madgar?
Okay. So at this time, if I invite anyone from the public who would like to speak, may stand, state your name, the ward you live in, and open it now. Yeah.
Ellen Kretschmar, Ward 2. I just wanted to give a compliment to the co-chair for having the budget, the draft budget, actually available in September this year. That's an improvement after last year, so thank you very much. Is there going to be a handout or presentation where the public can actually see the numbers that we're discussing tonight?
Yeah, that'll be in October, like it always is. Yeah.
Oh, there's never a handout in October or a presentation on screen.
It'll be in October.
What will be? A handout?
No, our presentation of the budget. It's always in October, or is it November?
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is not reviewing the actual.
We're reviewing the preliminary budget. It will be handed out to council only that we will pick up because there's a number of outstanding items that make this an incomplete budget. So if it got misunderstood by anybody who had their hands on it and published somewhere as this is our final budget, it would be not a good look for us because it's still prelim. So we need to have a conversation about what's included in it tonight. You'll hear all of that. We're then going to pick it back up from everyone, and then next month we will release a document to council and share it as we agree as a council. In November, it will be public to everyone.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it's going to follow that same process where it only becomes available to the public after you're voted on it as a draft, final draft budget.
That's the process. I mean, but you'll hear everything tonight, and you can ask questions next meeting.
Okay. So my question, if I can ask it in advance, since you guys don't allow, the current president doesn't allow later questions.
I don't know what? I'm sorry.
Questions later. So with Mr. Andreas was president, he allowed the public, after hearing the conversation from our representatives, he allowed people to ask questions after they heard that information. You as president. It was. But since you don't allow that, Mr. President, then I'm just saying my preemptive question is there going to be a tax increase for 2026?
No.
Okay.
No, in the 5-year plan, we talked about that. It's in the 5-year plan for at least 3 years from now, hopefully. Depending on how things go, but hold on to your hats.
I just want to make a comment that, we're really excited about the budget, the upcoming budget, and not having to raise taxes. But to try to produce numbers right now that are final numbers, with a few months to go in the year, in the fiscal year, is very dangerous for us to do. So that's why it goes public in November. But like I said, it's been discussed throughout. I know that some of you may want a final budget right now, but it's just not going to happen. Because it would be a disservice from us to you to say this is our final budget, and it's not even October yet.
New Brighton does theirs early, and so does Vanport.
That's New Brighton. It's not Beaver.
I'm just saying other communities
I'm not
can
worried
do
about
it.
what New Brighton does. I want to make sure that we're providing the best information that we possibly can, and we have year in and year out since I've been on council. So, all right, moving on. Anyone else would like to speak? All right, moving forward. Beaver County Regional Council of Governments.
We had our conference this past month, so there was no meeting, so there's nothing to report.
Okay, zoning hearing board. Anyone? All right, planning commission. Anything from? I'm gonna guess tree commission. No. Code enforcement. Anything? Historic Architectural Review Board.
Actually, I think Steve Drew is waiting
until the election is over before he comes to try to present anything with Harb. So that's going to be either at the end of the year or at the beginning of the new year.
Municipal authority.
Yes, just a couple of comments. First of all, there are minutes in your packet of the municipal authority meeting, so it describes in there all the projects that we've got going and the status of them. But one project I did want to mention, and I mentioned it before, but it's important because it affects the whole community, and that is an initiative by the EPA several years ago, and it's called Get the Lead Out, GLO. And what this initiative does is provide, in 10 years, the goal of the EPA, which gets transferred as a mandate onto the individual communities, is to get rid of all lead water lines in the community, or within the, in this case, it's the municipal authorities district. You get rid of all those lead lines within 10 years. It's an easy mandate to put in writing. It's a much more difficult situation to try to implement. The first thing that's required, and many of you already got this, is what's called an inventory. So we have to put together a list of the approximate 2,000 customers in our municipal authority, and to determine whether any of them have lead water lines. Again, easier said than done, because there's no non-destructive way to actually do that. Sometimes you have to dig down into the soil and check the pipes. And you can, once you have access to these pipes, check them fairly easy. Because a lead pipe, if you scratch it, like with a screwdriver, it'll be shiny. And so, that's good. But then we did our first edition of the inventory, of the lead pipe inventory, and then part of that inventory, part of that first wave of mandates, that's a mandate from the EPA, is to then report back to the individual homeowner. And virtually everyone got a letter from the municipal authority. It was about a year ago. And the real problem with that is that the criteria was very vague. And the only thing, what we had to put down for most people was something called unknown. And so most of you got a letter and said, it's unknown whether or not you've got lead in your system or not. Since then, the criteria has been revised so that we've been able to refine it quite a bit more. And we found out we've got, rather than 1,200 letters going out as unknown, let's say it's only it'll only be a couple of hundred. But even a couple of hundred is going to take a long time to try to determine whether there's any lead in that homeowner's responsibility of the homeowner. So we've got meetings that we're going to be looking at with officials, various officials. We've got one tomorrow with Congressman DeLuzio's office, and then we're also conferring with, and the idea would be we'd like to get funding for this. There's been a number of lead lines that have already been replaced, and there's a number of lines around town that are not lead. So identifying that and then correcting it, it's going to take a little while. I'll do what I can to keep you up to date on it. But that's where we are with lead. EPA has put out some information on it. You can look on the EPA website. They got a fact sheet for GLO for Get the Lead Out. And they've also got some details about the legislation, the initiative to get the lead out. So,
All right.
that's it. Any questions?
Just one question in terms of if residents ask, I've had a few questions over the past year from residents who got the letter and have said, okay, what does this mean for me? is it appropriate to direct them to that GLO section of the website?
I mean, there's information there, so it gives you a better understanding. It's not gonna answer their question about what's on, do they have a lead line in their water service or not.
Yeah.
That is yet to be done, and it's the responsibility of the municipal authority to find a way of doing it.
Okay. Thank you.
But they can always call our office, and Lisa Champ is on she's
Yeah.
the communication hub, so they can call Lisa Champ. She can answer it fine. If she can't, she'll pass it on to someone in the municipal authority.
All right, school committee.
There's a report enclosed. The only other thing I would add is that we are planning a trivia night on November 15th, 7 p.m. at the pool house. If anybody's interested in joining that, you can get more information on their Facebook page, or if you want, I'll leave my phone here and you can scan the QR code. But yeah, so that there'll be more information to follow.
Question. On the couple things on the minutes. The one part says that Cal suggested applying for the whole amount needed without regard to the 50% match requirement.
Yes.
How's that possible?
Well, he thinks that there's grants out there that would not require the 50% match.
All
So yeah, there was that. His idea was to try to go and get the whole thing in one big piece. That's a much tougher road to travel. Vogel's idea was to go for much smaller grants and kind of go piece by piece, which might be more achievable, but we're going to look at both avenues because heck, we can get the whole thing all at once. That would be nice, but yeah, it would not require any 50% match. So, and of that, the money we've raised already could go to, we wouldn't have to ask for the entire amount. We can say, oh, we have this much, we only need this much amount. As right now, it's pretty much the whole thing.
And this is just a curiosity on my point. I have been remiss and not contributed to this, but I know there was very nice flyer or door hangers that were handed out.
Yes.
Looks like there's going to be more in October. And then there's something in here about a future site location signage that you're going to put up. I'm assuming this stuff has been donated, or is it taken out of the donations that are given to the pool that's supposed to be spent on the pool?
The advertising would be part of the presentation for the pool, so yeah, I mean, that's part of any fundraising effort. I mean, you're going to have costs associated with the materials you need to do the fundraising. So the flyers, I think, the doorknobs, I think, were donated by Beverly and then and the other costs, we have incurred costs on other materials that we bought. So and the sign, I think, we would also pay for that too.
I think the sign, we met with them, the sign's minimal, the borough's gonna put it up for them. It's gonna take the borough just a few minutes with our machinery. To dig the hole, I think the sign's not much bigger than the whiteboard, it was just gonna go down on site.
For being frugal as possible, but there are expenses involved. So.
Okay. All right, moving on to council committees, finance.
All right, you want to hand those out? Awesome.
So we've already kind of given you our little preamble. You are getting a hard copy. I recognize this is a month earlier than we have done it in the past. That was our promise to you last year. So it's important to me that we live up to expectations. There is a lot of open-ended items still because of the 2025 status. We'll talk a little bit, for instance, about the pensions numbers that came in that are significantly higher than were budgeted, which has to do with many different elements, so Todd's gonna talk a little bit about that. But we will be picking these up, please, sorry the type is so small, but I wanted to make sure that you saw the last several years as well. Andy, Todd, Dan, and I have gone through all of these as detailed as we can. Obviously, we're in a pretty early stage, but with that said, we will pick these up at the end of the meeting and ask that you please don't take any pictures or anything of them because we just don't want this floating around because there's so many open-ended questions. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Todd to talk about 2025.
Well, as we've talked in the last few meetings with the borough account balances, right now we're sitting at almost 2.2, where last year this time, this is the end of August, 1.1. We did have, we just finally did find out about our pension contributions for the MMO, and that was about 180 more than what we thought it was going to be, or what we budgeted for. But at the end, after us reviewing late last week, what we need to finish the year, because obviously we don't have much of anything coming in for the rest of the year, it's going to be about 1.5, a little bit over. So at the end of their year, we're expecting to be right at around 500 in the account. Where last year we were net 288 in cash. So I mean that's or 133 in cash in the general fund. So we're going to be in good shape to get through that November to March time frame whenever we don't have any taxes coming in. And that number is also with $100,000 less in property taxes after the appeals, which in 26 we're budgeting that those appeals plus a couple more may go through. So we are bringing that down a little bit because of those appeals, knowing that ahead of time that we're able to factor that in. Any questions on 25?
Just point out that we're landing right where we expected to land. You know,
Yeah.
with the staff food, a little bit on the pension, but the pension every year is a dart. It's just that there's a half dozen different variables that go into trying to figure your pension out. So I think, council as a whole, when it was presented, why and how come and what if
And the MMO, we're told what we have to put in there. It's not that we guess. We're told what we have to be.
and that keeps your pension fund for borough-wide, all the employees, retirees, it's just a solvent, that everything's solid. And the other thing too to note on there, with hiring the additional full-time police officer, by the time you take the reimbursements, we're about $3,000 over on overtime. That's for the whole year. So we're about spot on overtime where we said when you take everything into account, what you can audit. And last year we were over, fortunately, that part-time. So, the council listened to the analysis that was done by Andy and Sergeant McCoy with the schedule. We did some creative scheduling and it seemed to work out. So again, everything's
Did exactly what the numbers said it would do. So we'll likely start the year with money that we'll make a decision on if it sits in the general fund or moves into the capital fund. But as planned in that 5-year budget of roughly $500,000. So that's going to set us up for next year, which is good news because costs and expenses continue to rise. So moving into the 2026 budget, what you see here is a working budget that outlines a total proposed income of roughly $5.9 million and expenses of roughly $5.7 million. That's giving us right now a balance of roughly $200,000 that again builds up upon what we save in this year. Our goal is to have at least $500,000 and then grow that to more like 20 or to $1 million so that we are covered should any issues arise like we've had to deal with in the past recent history. So going through the 2026 budget, just you can take a look at what you see here. To Todd's point, we have pretty much held projected income flat year on year, taking into account the assessments and the challenges that we are seeing that are impacting revenue. We were pleased, Andy shared with us that Colleen was very pleased actually to see that some of those are getting resolved to the positive and coming in a bit faster than we expected, so that is good news for 2025, so that's reflected in 2026. The big challenge we have every year, we talk about it every year, is the miscellaneous income, and that's very, very hard to actually project. So if you look at the miscellaneous revenue section 360.000, this year we projected 261,000, and we are coming in closer to 159. So we are going to curb that into the new year and only project about 60,000 because there's just, as far as I understand, there's really just no way to really firmly predict what can come in from some of these reimbursements. It's things like the state police fines, lien letters, miscellaneous income, tree purchases reimbursements, and health inspection reimbursements. So we do our best. Andy does his very best, working with Dan and the team upstairs to make sure that the projections are as safe as they can be. Fortunately, in 2025, we've been able to offset the $100,000 or so difference there. Moving down the page, the important thing to note here is every year we have an increase with our partner boroughs that we provide police services for. So we see a slight increase, about $20,000 in new revenue coming in next year. So that's good. Those contracts are finalized now for the next 3 years, I think.
The SRO one, and the other ones are
still pending, yeah. So, okay, so that is, those are all firm numbers, so we see a nice little bump there for income, and overall, that results in roughly $250,000 of reduced income year over year. So we have work to do to continue to find ideas for where we can be generating revenue, like the pool house, like other things, but we'll continue to work on that. This new budget and the tax increase that we experienced this year actually is working, as Dan said, so that we have a little bit more breathing room. The other thing that this does is this budget does what Todd just described in 2025 is this sets us up to kind of manage those lean months, that November to March timeframe where we typically are really holding our breaths to make sure we can pay our bills, pay our salaries, all those things. I think everybody feels much more comfortable that we will be able to work through those months without concern. So let's move into, one last thing to comment on there is, we've talked about it several times, but there's reduced highway income due to the Columbia Gas project winding down, so that's also part of that difference. Okay, moving into expenses. So we've been, I'd like to think we've been really open about the priorities, and we've talked a lot about those priorities together as a team just in 2025. So a lot of that is carrying forward into 2026. Some of the things that we had to make sure are in here is the maintenance funds for the borough building, whether it's here or the rental building. That's something that we need, rental properties. We will talk about that in more detail in the future. That's one of the outstanding items that we continue to work through. But we did put a $20,000 budget in to help offset some of those costs. Todd and I did a tour of this building. There is a lot that needs to be fixed. I have photos, I have thoughts about the priorities. We need to make sure the servers and everything are in the right, they're in a fine place now. We'll get them even better. There's just some construction and some concerns about things like black mold and things like that, that we don't want our police officers or our borough workers exposed to. We need to preserve this building for the future, or else, like the pool house, it will just become a liability. So that'll be a topic moving forward. We see little things like slight increase in fireworks budget. We do have a new full-time police officer hire. So we talked about 2 officers being hired to offset the expense and the overtime that we just talked about. It is working, but as we move forward and as our police force starts to, I'll say, mature and move into different stages of retirement, into the drop and out of the drop, we need to make sure that we are staffing up when there are talented and qualified candidates available. We have one, I think. We're maybe close, so we've got that budgeted in here. We also have the CBA all in here, and a pension number needs to be also ratified and discussed in greater length. So I think the CBA in particular, I believe that's all been set, but Bob will be talking with you about that to make sure that you're in alignment, and then we'll bring that to council to vote on. There's a couple of additional expenses that we are expecting for equipment for the police department. There's 2, we have our vehicle rotation. There will be 2 vehicles that could rotate. One we have in at the end of this year, and I believe one next year. And then we had already talked about the tasers. So those tasers are budgeted for as well. As you guys recall, that's a $20,000 fee with no interest, and we can pay for, I think, the whole $100,000 over the next 5 years, $20,000 a year. So that's good news. Like I said, increased pension obligations for both police and municipal authority are in here. The crosswalk. So while we wait for the grant, we do have crosswalk painting and installation built in again in 2026. It's going to be important that we continue to improve resident safety along the main drag. And that is also something that we are hoping to get grants on, but as you guys know, and I'll say it often and loudly, grants are not reliable. We try. We have a good, solid grant writing team in Officer DeGory, but we don't know if we get them, so we have to budget for the priority needs just in case we don't. If we get them, then that money comes back to the bottom line, and that's good news. We just have overall rising costs for supplies and materials. So Dan usually makes part of his report every week. He mentions the change in cost of concrete, of salt, of the things that we need in order to run the town. That's just baked in here as best as we can based on economic forecasting that Andy has done. That maps back to the 5-year budget that we did. We do have another playground upgrade for next year at $85,000. That might be a little bit low given where prices are, but we'll try to do the same thing that Becca and Whitney did this time around, which was negotiate and find the deals that can be had. And then we do have an America 250 celebration line item in. It's not very much money, just $5,000. So, but we have budgeted for that, which is a little bit more than just the boom, but it'll take into account other needs here. We also have a slight increase for fireworks overall. Okay. If you look at the bottom line right now, that $5.7 million, that gives us about $206,000. That ideally is a transfer to the capital fund. However, there are a number of items that we talked about in the 5-year budget that we will want to continue to review and talk about in upcoming sessions. I think we should, and we can even talk about it now. So I already mentioned the CBA ratification with Bob. There's a request for new cameras and equipment for the police. We've got some needs for upgrading the technology because of server chip expiration and other technical expirations that are happening on some of that equipment. That's just part of maintaining the camera systems around our town. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very grateful for those camera systems. That's on the docket. Healthcare cost increase that we will have to fund. We're expecting it to be around 15,000, but we don't have that final number yet. Another item that we will want to take into executive session is staff pay increases. So every year we talk about that, so we'll bring that into an executive session here in the next month or two. My personal favorite, well, I have two on the list, is the F&B loan repayment. Accelerating repayment there will offset interest costs in the future, so I believe we should pay that down to be financially responsible as fast as we can, but that's on the list. Some equipment conversations have happened. I think most importantly and most recently was this belly mower so that we can get down over the hillsides without risking any danger to the highway department, and also without tearing up the hillside, which we've had residential complaints about, so we need to be thoughtful about that. That belly mower's, I think, around $5,000. And then street sweeper and leaf collector, those big, huge pieces of equipment, they need maintenance. Always, at some point, we will need to replace them. I'm not sure if it's going to be this year. I did have a resident call me and ask me why the street sweeper even runs, because it doesn't pick anything up. I don't know if that's true. They said they were riding behind it and they watched nothing going up into the machine. I said maybe it was off. I'm not sure. And then lastly, we talked about streetscape improvements out front, and in particular bricks that need to be repaired. We'll need to get a quote for what that would cost to do. And then my other personal favorite is doing something about U-turns happening on 3rd Street, which are illegal and dangerous. So those are the items that we will want to get feedback on moving forward. I'll take a breath and ask for questions.
Thank you for all your work.
You're welcome. It's super fun.
I could tell by your smile.
I'm a little concerned, once again, with the overtime situation. I thought hiring the extra officer was going to really decrease that. I see that we're still at 3,000 over at a $360,000 budget. I thought we were going to be able to save a little there. That was not the case.
We cut the overtime budget by $100,000 from the previous year. I mean, I'm super happy. I mean, to have a department this size with this much court time and investigations in 3 communities, and you're only over by $3,000.
Yeah, so if you look at last year, it was 406. We made the decision to hire, we budgeted at, at 360. We're coming in at a little bit over that. We're going to hold that 360 to next year, but that's also why we want to hire another officer.
Actually, Amy, another point to bring up is actually we're going to be under on overtime, because if you think about it, just the garrison, let me repeat that, just the car show was probably a $4,000 to $5,000 a day in overtime, but we get reimbursed that through the Friends of Beaver Parks, which is $12,000.
Right.
So we get several reimbursements different ways. So I mean, actually, we're under budget on overtime.
Plus, wages are 5% higher this year than they were last year, so it's definitely trending lower.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny and I, when we go over and do the pays, check the pays, we use a ruler, we go over, match everything up, and I mean, that's what I said to Kenny, man, we're not getting as many overtime stays in the way Kenny with the schedule.
It's easier to control some of the unforeseen costs because they have more flexibility in the schedule. I can bridge a guy in between shifts and stuff, so then if there's a call off, we're not going below, an unsafe level of guys on the road. Whereas before, we'd have to fill it. And also, we are part-time. We have part-time guys, but they're almost non-existent with their availability. You can schedule them because they tell you prior to, this is what I'm available, but they all work full-time jobs. So on the call-offs, a lot of times they're already working. So it gets stuck on the full-time staff to cover those hours.
Yeah, I think
Having that extra guy has helped to eliminate some of that. There's certain things you're always going to have court time and things like that, but the shifts, which what we were getting killed on previously,
Yeah.
it's not happening as much now. And we've tweaked some more things to the schedule to try and approach that. So,
And if there's a way too, like you were saying with the reimbursement, to see that number.
Yeah.
I think that's important because going back to the days of Shell Plant, where there was a lot of overtime, but all that was,
Yeah, we
you
can
could see like, okay, it's the overtime's not so bad because you can see that.
Well, you guys, Colette said that, I don't have it on me now, but Colette has forwarded, there was an email, and look, what you just asked for, Colette had already done that, starting with all the reimbursements. I mean, just in Negoria, I think we got about 10,000 for the feds this year, so there's a lot of, like, right now, when the guys are working all the football games, that runs through payroll for workman's comp purposes, so they're paying Western Beaver, they're paying, but then Ken bills, Colette bills at the end of the season for all the games. So we're fronting the money when we get it back in, basketball games. So all the school events run through our payroll, but then the school reimburses us. So it shows us spending it, but it's coming back in, but it still shows that as an expense.
So I have it here, it's 15,430 so far, and that is through August 5th.
And $7,000 of that was from when Netflix did the whole bridge scene, and they're coming back into town in October. We have a meeting tomorrow. They're gonna be here for, I wanna say, about 8 days, filming 12 hours a day. That's gonna be a $10,000 bill. So it's gonna show us spending 10 grand, but we're gonna be getting that back and then some.
there's another aspect. We have a lot of large events in town that we have to put the staffing out for. So from the start of the year, I got with Dan, we started just tracking it individually, like on those given days. Like for instance, we have the Veterans Day Parade this year. It's a massive event as far as what we have to pay. It's the county's Veterans Day Parade, but it's here in Beaver. And in order, we need a minimum of 28 officers just to shut down everything safely and appropriately. So it's basically our whole department, and it's a holiday. It's an overtime rate anyways. But everybody is out to work that, as many guys as possible. And then we, some of the other PDs help us with manpower, but that's a huge cost that increases our overtime that otherwise wouldn't if we didn't have that event. Then you have the other parades and stuff. And I'm not saying not to have them, I'm just saying just for context, so we wanted to do it so that council can look at that and say, okay, some of these areas are costing us, this day costs us $9,000, this day costs us this, just so everybody is aware, that is the individual cost for those days and times and why you're having it.
That would be great transparency if that was shared. I mean, people don't know that you're doing that.
Well, we just started that this year to do it at the end of the year. We always knew it, but I just started setting the stuff aside so we can have an individual report. So.
Yeah, I think the concern for me was the pension at the beginning.
Yeah.
That, because all this stuff goes into the pension.
Right.
And it's gonna, so it's still gonna, all this stuff gets.
But I think one thing too, let me repeat that, we're under on the part-time wages by $80,000. We're under, like we budgeted X amount, and we're still 80K under that number because the part-time guys they're not here to work. They all work. All of our part-timers work full-time elsewhere, and 9 times out of 10, Ken will schedule them. They'll call off here because they're stuck working a double with their full-time jobs, and then it creates overtime here. But on the part-time,
Yeah, we were budgeted at 190, we're cut right now, projected through the end of the year at 142. And we have taken it even down further for next year to 125.
So yes, I mean, we're 60, 70K under, it falls into what Ken just said, like they're not working because we can't get them.
Yeah, on the management side, we look at the overtime and the part-time as one lump sum of these are the extra, this is the money we have to fund the extra hours. So one way or another, when you look at the total of it, we're definitely down. The hiring the guy, there was a cost to hiring the guy, but there was also the benefit to controlling the unforeseen costs by having him in here to schedule appropriately and have manpower at certain hours that you otherwise wouldn't normally have, and have full control of them, unlike a part-time officer. We do not have full control, and there is that trickle down. We have like 5 guys that are Brighton Township officers that if they get stuck up there, which happens often, they call off because their guy up there, somebody called off. He was supposed to come down here, work at midnight. Now we have 2 hours to fill the shift, and it's usually one of the guys here is stuck, and he has to work an overtime shift. And usually when you have your own men, you don't have that issue.
But also too, it's not about money. A lot of the guys, they don't want to be here. Like they've already been here 20 hours in a pay period, like of overtime, and they're back there arguing, you stay, I stay, and you stay. Like they don't want the money. They don't want to be. I mean, after a while, it's not about money, it's about quality of life, because you gotta get up and take your kid to school in the morning and miss functions. So it's not just about the overtime, it's about, guys being stuck, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. Like, our guys,
All that being said, it has worked out as we had hoped it would work out, where we ran the numbers and thought, we could do this, so it looks good right now. So.
Yeah.
Strategy is working.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the first year of it, so, yep.
So the extra $1 million that we got from the tax increase on property taxes, we had told the taxpayers that that was because of two sort of one-off events: the hillside slope repair and the renovation to the pool house. And so people have asked me, well, once all that is paid for, are we going to see taxes, trend back down? And we're not. So I'm trying to go through this and figure out where that extra, and of course, since we're not doing that, that extra $1 million that we get from the tax increase, that we're going to keep going out year after year, that's quite a bit of money for our budget. And so you mentioned a number of things: more money in the capital fund, some other projects. But we haven't explained that to the taxpayers.
We're not getting an extra $1 million
Yeah, where are you getting
in
$1 million?
taxes.
Well,
We're actually budgeting next year $20,000 less than we're getting this year.
well, I see
And
real
this year-
property taxes at actual 2024 was 1.886, blah, blah, blah. Projected 2025, 2.889. So that's an extra $1 million in taxes.
$1.2 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
It is.
so,
25 to 24.
right. So, again, there's a lot of numbers here, and I'm trying to figure out where.
Margaret, I think I can answer your question. I think, if I followed your question. So, remember there's 500,000, we're in a cash surplus position right now that we have never been in. We doubled our cash by the end of August, as Todd reflected in his notes, in his comments. We will end the year with $500,000 that can sit in the capital fund. We can determine as a team what the priorities are that we want to fund. That's what we will communicate to the community.
Okay.
We, right now, also in this budget, I believe we need to plan to have a contingency in there of at least 10%. So it should be a bit higher than this 200,000. So overall, if we can put 500 into the capital fund, we have roughly 200,000 to spend. If the budget stays where it is right now. That's a big if, because we have a couple of those outstanding items that I talked about. So,
Amy, let me jump in here too, and just and point this out. So right out, when January 1 of 25 happened, we were already $680,000 in a hole. We didn't need to take a tax anticipation loan because of our agreement and pay arrangements with the municipal authority,
Right.
which we've completely paid them off. So that out of this $1 million or this tax increase, 380,000 went back, 360 to 380 went back to pay the MA back, or we'd have had to go to a bank to get a loan. The other 300,000 came to fix the hillside, which was 3 to 350. So there, $600,000-$700,000 would have left us an overage of 300,000, which goes towards their 500,000. So we don't have to worry about a tax anticipation loan. We have the money to get through the lean years. So right out of the gate, when 25 started, we were already over $500,000 in the hole. Or if we would have been better off for clarity for you or whoever else, we might have been better off to go to the bank and say, hey, we got a loan for this, and this is what we paid. Now we're paying, instead of paying ourselves back right now, we'd be paying a bank back with interest. So you have two transactions. We started January 1 in the hole at 360 to 380 with the MA, and we were trying to put back our rainy day fund of 300. So we started this at 600 to 700K. January 1, we were already that much upside down. So out of that money, we had to pay those two debts back, which we did. We replenished our surplus to the tune of 200K more, and we still owe the MA 360 to 380. Now, in 26, we're not going to have that 360 to 380 from the MA. So that's going to help us to keep taxes down and do some of additional projects. So, but this year, I mean, I think I'm very happy where we're at strategically. We had two choices: to get creative and raise the taxes, or we still would have had to raise the taxes. We'd have to pay Citizens Bank or FNB. We'd have to borrow $600,000 or $700,000 to replenish our money, plus get us through those lean months. So, I mean, well, for Peter to pay Paul, we'd have been stuck either way. So, you know, I mean,
Does that answer?
It does, it means that we are set in how we are managing our money going forward, and it's just going to keep costing taxpayers more and more. We're not looking to cut expenses,
that's the world.
and
That's
maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Everybody's bills at home, everything. It's gonna think.
I think I would just say it a different way, where it's not going to continue costing taxpayers more and more every year. But yes, there will be another tax increase in several years, but at least we can plan for it. And I think that's part of the problem that we had in the past, is we weren't planning for those things.
Correct.
So if you look back at that one document that Dan and the office shared from upstairs that had all from 2000 to 2024, the millage per year, there were many banks of years where we did not raise taxes. There was even one year where we lowered taxes.
We lowered taxes. Okay, but this is only one budgetary paradigm, and we're not even considering any others.
Consider, tell us what paradigm you want to look
Yeah,
at.
I mean,
What's
I mean,
different?
Margaret, we did the
What-
5-year budget. We did.
what paradigm can we
We've
look
been
at?
really trying to get ahead of all this stuff. You're part of this too. What do you want to do? What are your
Well, I already
thoughts?
told you, I think we could look at regionalizing other services. We can look at raising the rates that Vanport and industry pay for police
We
services.
have.
They
we're
raise
not
every year.
raising taxes.
raise
They raise every year.
$5,000?
Go ask, well, you go to New Brighton all the time. Next time you're over there, ask them what Doherty and Pulaski pay. We're getting a heck of a lot more money than what they're getting from Doherty and Pulaski. We're getting $50,000 more than they're getting from Pulaski.
Yeah, and we looked into regionalizing at your request. It isn't possible right now. There is.
Can we see the numbers?
I
didn't.
saw some of their budget numbers, what they're charging other communities. Their increases are anywhere, what did we see, Mayor, $60,000 to $90,000 per year are the increases, because they're trying to make up for an 18 to a 20-man department. So
Can you show us the numbers?
We didn't
They
do,
don't put on their
do
minutes
that
either.
deep of an analysis.
They
We
put
talked
those
about
on
it with
minutes.
you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Repeatedly, you've gone to those meetings, you've heard the challenges. You heard Bridgewater say no thank you to regionalizing with that, I don't know what it's called.
The
The regional
We've
police.
had the discussion. how many
Yeah, I
times
mean,
on regionalized
my
police.
perspective is we
Oh, yeah, so,
shouldn't regionalize across rivers. So we have. Brighton Township isn't interested, Bridgewater isn't interested.
well, then,
But
We
we
have
have import
Vanport and
industry and we
industry, and
control
Midland
that.
is way too far and not something we should be getting into.
we're still not gonna change the budget. That's something, if you're gonna do, it's like Amy, your 5-year plan, that's something that you plan, you just don't get rid of our police.
no, it's not getting rid of the police, it's just, running the numbers, doing a real financial analysis.
I
Whoever's
thought,
on council can
I
do
mean,
it
we've
next year.
talked about it, but we haven't
no,
done any
I'm
real
sorry.
fiscal
I
analysis.
thought we had already agreed, those numbers have been run in the recent past, and it was determined not to be a good use of anyone's time to do it again. That's how I understood the conversation ended.
I'd love to
Maybe-
know when they were
Maybe I
recently
made that
done.
up.
I've never seen that.
And Margaret, why don't you go find that information then? Why don't you do it? If you're so interested in, I don't think there's any other member on council that's interested in regionalizing our police force.
Make a
Maybe
motion.
there's another one. Make a motion. I said that before. You can always make a motion to regionalize. You can do that. But you have to remember too, we're in the middle, we have a contract with our police force.
I
We have
understand that.
contracts with other communities.
So I can have access to all the pension money and the crime data from you guys.
The
to
crime
do-
data, not
Yeah.
for me. I don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's part of the whole analysis.
Oh, okay. So you're an expert in that now.
No,
too,
no,
right?
I want
just
to be
saying.
said,
I mean,
if I
when you
want
want to do costs, wouldn't, the
Like,
analysis
I wanna
says
know
what's
what-
our cost and what's it gonna cost
Right.
to join them. It doesn't matter what our crime is.
And what
It's
they
what the
want us-
cost is, that's what you want to save is money,
Wants.
right? You want to save money from
I
the
just want
budget.
to understand if there's a financial advantage. If there's not,
Hey.
and even if there is, I fully allow that maybe our community doesn't wanna do it. I fully allow that, even if it would save us $500,000 or $1 million. I understand that our community may decide it's not worth it, we would rather have the police here.
Margaret,
I
you're
get
on
it.
council, you can make a motion.
No, I just
To
want,
and
well, no, it's
research
not a
that.
motion, oh, to research it.
Well, you can research it on your own,
I
but if
can.
you wanna make a
If
motion,
you give me the
to-
data, I'll
to-
research it.
I don't have the data.
Well,
I'm telling you, you can
council
create a
has it.
motion.
When council directs me or the
For that,
mayor
yeah.
directs me, I'm not wasting my time.
I recall discussions with the district attorney, and they, ones that promoted that, which is fine, but they did tell us that they thought we were doing the right thing, there would not be savings for.
And I talked to the district attorney, and he had a very different answer from me.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Well, again, it sounds like it's not, has nothing to do with crime data, it's financial, you just said financial. What would it be for us to join them? Find out financially what it would be for us.
I have to have some of our data, the pension
Why?
data, because that factors into the decision.
You said you wanted crime data. What's
That's
crime
part of
data
it,
got
too.
anything to do with it?
Well, if you have a lot of crime somewhere, you need more police officers. I mean, that's
Maybe we
pretty
have
much-
no crime because we have police officers.
That could very well be.
I
Could
don't
very
assume
well
that'd
be.
be the case.
If council wants to go down this road and waste your time, again, more power to you. I'm not gonna be involved unless council with a.
All you have to do is give me the data. You don't have to run any
Margaret, we
numbers.
met with you, and I'm done talking about it because
Okay,
it's like a
well.
broken record.
There you go.
All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you want to create a motion for the borough to research, join the regionalized police force, then create that motion, and we'll put it to a vote. If it gets voted in, then we'll start talking with the regionalized police
But if
force
you're not
to
gonna
see what
give
the
me the
cost.
data, then
It
why
doesn't
bother?
matter. At the end of the day, the taxpayers are going to want to know what the cost is, correct? Because that's what you're saying. You keep saying cost, and now you're saying crime data. You know, all I'm saying is, when we looked into this several years ago, Lozier told us that we already do it, and we do it in the right way because we control those contracts.
And
And you can shake your head all you
I am
all you
shaking my
want,
head.
and that's fine.
I
That's
think we
fine.
just wait, Sean, and see who's on council in January. If council at that time decides to go that direction, and
Create a motion.
that's all. You've been on council for 8 years, where you been?
Right here, Dan.
I-
Right.
Right here.
Attacking the police like you normally do.
You know, asking for fiscal data is not attacking the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yep. All right, moving on. Any other questions about the budget? Ms. Cutler, do you have anything else?
I think, one issue is like, one issue is, this is an awful lot to comprehend. You know, we threw a lot of numbers around tonight, and we'll have to explain. I'm still trying to wrap my head around where they're at, because there was $1 million here, then 300,000 here spent, 300,000 here spent, and so now we have a little extra. Then we have 500 that's going in general, and we have 200 that's over, so I just don't really understand, I can't comprehend that, especially after this initial meeting and just getting this information tossed to us this evening.
2 months early.
Well, not too much, how long do we have to advertise?
We have to advertise in November.
At the end of November.
So, to pass this, how many? 6 days?
Yeah.
So that's the minimum, right?
So hopefully, I mean, but you didn't see this my point just being, you didn't see this until much later last year. And you guys were unhappy
And,
about that.
yeah, and to be fair, I've seen it sooner, in previous years, I've seen it sooner. So, and it wasn't so confidential, but, my point I'm trying to make is, if we're gonna throw these numbers at it, it'd certainly be nicer to have them in some sort of summarized version of where our biggest expenses have increased, where we've managed to curb some costs. There would be, you know, instead of having to look through this line by line by line by line by line. And it's certainly being done by other communities. If we just do an easy Google search for borough budgets, you can see that some communities are similar to ours, some are much more compact, but, this is a lot of information to take in just a few minutes of one night, and yeah, I don't know if we should be doing the minimum.
We're not doing the minimum
6 days minimum.
to advertise?
Yeah.
Let's not get into the argument of minimum and
Transparency.
what have you. It's been 2 months earlier.
We've discussed the budget for 6 months.
You're exactly right. We've discussed the budget every meeting. And there was a report because there's some of you and some in the audience that are so concerned about our police force and what we spend money on our police force and the tremendous work that they do. We talked about the overtime time and again in different meetings. At the end of the day, we're not going to have a tax increase this year. And you would think that we were asking for a tax increase. The federal government's going to shut down possibly in the next few days. And we have our budget.
56%. Of course we're not gonna have a tax increase.
Whatever, yeah, we raised 50%.
Writing down.
How are you gonna have a tax increase after you raise 50%?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're gonna do that? You're gonna put that in?
yes, I will put that in. Right?
Put it.
I support it. My vote went
You
yes.
wanna support another tax increase?
In the budget, I
Nobody
didn't say we're having a tax. That's what
Nobody
I'm
in their right
saying.
mind would think that there's gonna be a tax increase this
Time
year.
out.
If we
Time
have,
out.
Ridiculous.
Time out. You guys get a budget in every single meeting. I asked at the end of the 5-year budget review that every council member start to have accountabilities in the budget for the areas of the budget that their committees are responsible for. So dig in. If you want to have a conversation about those areas of the budget, let's dig in.
Scott?
Right. But you get
you
the
guys
budget
come back every time and you're talking about
every-
overtime, Alex. You talk about that every year, overtime.
You get the budget.
We can't control the overtime.
It's better
We
than
get
What we
the
did,
budget
it was
in
better than what
every
it
meeting
was.
and nobody ever asks us any
So I'm
questions.
just not supposed to ask any questions.
I didn't say you didn't
Whatever
ask
put
any
in front of,
questions,
whatever
but
put in front of us, we should
you're
pass
sitting
that.
there and you're
That's-
complaining
that's
about
what our-
overtime.
I've asked questions, I asked questions about
No, you said you had a concern with it. And then she answered you.
I'm not allowed to have a concern.
She answered you.
I was voted in this position last time I checked.
Sure, you are,
Yeah.
you are.
No, I understand.
But
That was a question of authority, just whatever put in front of you, pass it.
the budget looks better this year.
That's exactly what we're doing.
It's just
No, that's
not
not
ready
what we're
yet
doing.
because
That's
we have
what
a few
Alex-
more things that Andy is working
That's
on.
very
Then in the
ignorant to
next
Todd and
meeting-
Amy. And Amy and Todd, I'm sorry that you have ignorant people on council who sit here and criticize the work and the efforts that you've been putting into this as if they just haphazardly went through this.
We stop the name
Ridiculous.
calling.
Now,
Yeah.
we're gonna move forward. Miss Speller, do you have any other?
Amy, I have actually
You gonna share that?
a suggestion.
Sure.
In addition to the financial data, maybe for the next year, you might, and I know that grants are not everybody's favorite topic, but maybe you should include, over the next year, these grants are coming available and we need to look at these different grants. And maybe that's something that comes under Roberta and general government, but maybe,
I agree. I think at the end of the 5-year budget, I asked for a grant committee to be created. Let's resurface that. If I have to bring a motion to do that, I will do that.
I think that's a very good idea.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. I'm not here after December 31st, so I won't be able to do that with you next year, but good luck.
Maybe you both might not be here after that 31st. That's why I said we should probably wait till January, see who's here.
Dan,
because
try to be a little
to make
professional.
decisions- to make decisions on this.
They'll have, that council will have an opportunity, this council, the next council can open up, the budget again at their first meeting.
Any more? Ms. Speller?
I think, anybody else?
Anybody else?
Moving on.
Thank you.
General government.
We're gonna pick up those budgets now.
I didn't have a report, but I did want to say thank you
I was
for
asked to do.
all of the extra things that the borough.
We told you that we handed them out, Alex, we were taking them out.
Hold on.
Where's
Hold on.
the
Hold on.
policy?
Hold on. We're under general government. Have the councilwoman speak, please. That's good, please.
I want to thank borough workers for the extra things that they do for the community. They help me out with the details. I know they went above and beyond their regular schedule to help me out, and I know I'm not the only one in the, or in the community. So please thank the Boro workers.
I had a couple things, if I can interject them too. One is, I guess it's under general government, it could be highways, I'm not quite sure, but, the leaves that are falling a little bit earlier this year, I don't know if it's worth talking about, but I've already been asked questions about, when's the leaf pickup start? And I'm like, it usually doesn't start till later, usually in October sometime. But people are already asking about it because leaves are falling, my tree in my front is pretty much down.
So the sweeper's set up, they have it set up to where it'll pick up leaves, small piles, so that's what we're telling people now, is to put them in small piles so they can pick them up. And then we'll probably start it earlier than we usually do, just because of the weather.
So people can put them out on the street now if they want
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
And my other thing was, we mentioned about the 250 in the budget. Probably at the next meeting or thing, there is like a resolution that they're asking communities to sign to say we're complying or we want to be part of the 250. So
Yeah.
As soon as I can find that, I'll include it and hopefully we can get that voted on too.
There aren't any more grants available, though. Communities have been doing this for 2 years, and the state did have grants available to those communities that did do that, but.
This is more just a superficial thing of saying like, oh yeah, we're all together and county, Commonwealth.
All right. Highways,
Nothing else here.
public safety,
Nothing new for me.
recreation. Manager,
I had a
secretary.
question, Sean.
Yeah.
Public safety. In the last meeting, I think it was brought up about some low hanging lines. Did anything happen with that?
Yeah, they got handled, I went out the following day with Sergeant Hody and a couple of the other guys, we got the River Road stuff taken care of, and we also got the one back here taken care of, went through county. And Cheryl, they got most of it, but like you said, there's still the one, but we got them out the next day, so we did what we could do.
That's fine.
So yeah, that's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just quickly, a paving update, the week of the 6th, that's what they're scheduled, so they should mobilize that weekend, depending on weather. If the weather, if we get some rain now, the 6th might become the 8th or 9th, but sometime that week of the 6th, we should see the paving get moving in town. This Saturday, the Wine Fest is from 3 to 7. Fire department has their open house the same day from noon to 4. And also there's a free concert in the park the same day as the Wine Fest. Wine Fest again 3 to 7, and that concert's from 6 to 8. So Rebecca got that scheduled that would kind of tie into the end of the Wine Fest. That's going to be over at the park.
And that's the Wind Symphony.
Also, the zoning hearing board, both variances were approved, so the second floor, 250 College Avenue was approved. Signage next door, 455 Third was approved. On Friday, October 24th, at the pool house, it's called Scam Awareness Workshop, and that's going to be on, again, October 24th, 10 to 12. And they have the different groups from the state and federal working with Jim DeGory, and this is a program they do all over the place. So there was one part earlier in the year, and this is kind of the wrap-up that they're doing. So that's on the 24th of October. On the 25th of October, the next day, that's the Liberty Tree Planting Ceremony. That's going to be at 11 a.m. at the Fort Mac site. So it's Liberty Tree, 11 a.m. and Rebecca attended a meeting. A lot of the different dignitaries in town and different peoples are coming in for that, so they're expecting a pretty good turnout for that.
When is that?
That's the 25th, Alex. That's a Saturday, the 25th, at 11 a.m. Also, just something to bring up, the Fort Mac just had a few hundred people travel through there the other day, and about 8 hours prior, I got contacted by Roberta and a few other people that a pretty good sized tree branch fell. So that would have been 12 hours after the initial fall. That would have been probably people standing underneath of it probably wouldn't have turned out so good. So it appeared to be a perfectly healthy tree too, and one of the branches just let loose. So we got I got the Boro guys, and they got out here early in the morning and got everything cleaned up. But again, it just shows, falls back and made me think of the mother watching the softball game. You know, I have a blue branch fell and killed her. So that was 12 hours later. Where it fell right where people would have been standing. So we got lucky on that. That's why we try to keep up on the trees and the pruning and cutting. I know we get a lot of pushback and different things, but we have to stay on top of it. Also, Beaver SRO contract, that's been done. That's been signed and put on a shelf for 5 years. And the Western Beaver SRO contract it's on their agenda, so we should have that sealed up in the next, I'm hoping, 30 days. Last thing that I have is when Rebecca got a chance to go back through her emails, we had the skunk gentleman, whisper, whatever, skunk expert in here on the other day. On July 22nd, there was correspondence with him back in July, so 3 years ago. And again, there was July of 2024 was the last correspondence with him. Yeah, July of 22, so 3 years ago, and then July of 24. So we did have correspondence with him, and it had been a year prior. Rebecca reached out, they had a conversation on September 10th after the last meeting, and again, each time he was told, real simply, provide quotes, and we'll sit down with council and bring you the request. And so this is the third time that we've dealt with this gentleman, and we keep telling him, just give us a quote or a proposal, we'll bring it to council. So again, in 22, 24, he showed up last meeting, Rebecca spoke to him, said the same thing, just provide a quote or provide some type of documentation. Is it pretty accurate? And we'll be happy to bring it to council, and we still haven't heard back from him. So I'm not sure who got him wound up. And residents contacted him to come to the meeting. We haven't had anybody contact us in reference to the skunk since then. So I just wanted to let you know that we did as much as we could do on our end, and we still haven't heard back. So that's it.
Marilyn?
Just a comment. I want to thank Amy and Todd for all the time and effort. Believe me, I know what you went through to get this to where we are, and I think it's excellent to see the work that you've done and the time that we have. But then end this on a positive note. Thanks, Roberta, for bringing that up. So many nice things are happening around this town. I was out of town. I missed that event. I hate to miss those, but we're so fortunate in this town to have these things. And I think that's part of the thing is nobody wants to not have these events that I'm aware of. But the people are happy to come to our town. People are moving into our town. So we have a lot to be celebrated and proud about. So I appreciate what Roberta said. The crews are doing a good job of keeping the town in shape, like that tree that fell down. Got cleaned up before the event. All these things are happening with a good team of people. And, so anyway, I just want to end it on a positive note. That's it. Thank you.
And I have nothing for President. So, any final questions? No.